Maybe
Yes.
we've been guilty of being narcissist bait and didn't know.
Right, right. So basically, narcissist bait is really a person that is very compliant, very
Mm,
agreeable,
okay.
um, just willing to, jump out of their way to do what the other person wants. And I'm not just talking about a romantic relationship, but they're the kind of person that doesn't want to have an opinion about
Mm.
anything. They might even be that person that apologizes all the time. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. There
Oh
was
my
your
goodness.
way, and right. And so narcissists, when they see that, it's like, whoa, this is the person.
Hello, and this is the Narcissist I'm Asking for a Friend podcast, and my name is Tyler King, and this is my co-host Karen Maldonado. Now
Everybody.
we have a really good topic, and it's so good we're gonna have to do it in two parts. So this will be part one. And we just want you to know, once again, we come from a Christian perspective. So this is not a narcissist bashing session at all by any means, but we really do want to help our viewers to be able to overcome narcissistic abuse, to be able to heal and move forward. And honestly, to find, relationships again that are healthy. So, Karen, so we have a great topic today. So, how do you trust your instincts and safely find love after narcissistic abuse?
Wow, that's a really good question. People oftentimes don't trust themselves because they may have had, more than one relationship. And, now it's like, I'm just not good at picking them. I'm just, not good at discerning.
Mm,
This is coming from a Christian perspective. We're supposed to be praying for, wisdom and praying for discernment when we do anything in life,
right.
anything big, especially, and finding a partner for your life. That's
Yes.
a big undertaking, and you want to make sure that God is in the center of that. I know too many people that have, settled for the counterfeit. There's a lot of
Mm,
people out there that look like they might be the one, but we could, easily fall in love. That fall in love happens easily for us at times. And so I'm thinking about how, when we fall in love, there's this hormone called phenylethylamine, and that they call it PEA for short.
okay.
And that is like another feel-good hormone, just like dopamine is a feel-good hormone. Um,
Right.
and when you have phenylethylamine in your body, that is this driving force. It actually is very similar to, has that same effect on people, that the part of the brain that shows that there's addiction to amphetamines. Phenylethylamine
Wow.
can be very addictive for people. And so you might know somebody that, they date and they'll go out with someone, or they'll be a partner to somebody for like 2 years.
Mhm.
Sometimes to marry them, and then for 2 years they're in it, and then all of a sudden they feel like they've fallen out of love because,
Wow.
I reach over and I touch her hand and I don't feel that zing anymore, or she'll feel, reach over and, she won't feel that zing anymore. And so that is something that's very normal. So,
Mhm.
you haven't fallen out of love, your love has matured. And so,
Oh,
right.
yeah.
And so, for the first 2 years, I believe God gave us that phenylethylamine so that we would fall in love with somebody, marry them, and then procreate. There is a purpose for this. But
Exactly.
then the thing that was maybe a lot of feelings and ooh and ah and warm fuzzies, that changes, and now you feel this level of comfort when you reach to touch this person's hand. This is your person, your soulmate, or however you want to talk about them. I'm married 45 years. I love my husband very much.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
sometimes I'll still feel his way, but
Yes.
when we hold each other's hands, it's this is my best friend. And
Wow.
so, and it goes from being these feelings to be
Mhm.
just a decision and a choice, that this is the person I've chosen to do the rest of my life with and to grow old together. And so it's a different thing.
Yeah, I love that because you know what? We are truly educating our listeners here because I don't know, you have some people that grew up in families where they just didn't have these kinds of conversations. So they go through life confused about love and what it really is, what it's supposed to feel like, or maybe they've always had bad examples. Let's just be honest. Some people may have had bad examples of love and seen a lot of, toxic type of relationships in their families. So you are really helping the listeners now. Viewers, I want you to chime in. Make sure you go into the comments, into the chat. Type in, has this happened to you? Have you found yourself like going from one relationship to the other, trying to get that zing feeling, that butterflies in your stomach feeling with this person, and then when it wears off, you're thinking, oh wait, maybe the relationship's over because I don't feel that feeling anymore. No,
Mhm.
you're not supposed to. It's not, you don't feel that all the time. So I'm so glad, Karen, that you are bringing this to our awareness, So yeah, so I definitely, that is such a good point. And I also wanted to find out, so you definitely said you got to pray about it, make sure that you are prayerful about finding the right person.
Mhm.
So let's look at some other things now. So like I know in these relationships you kind of lose your power to be a better judge of character, and then the more of yourself that you invest into these relationships, you just kind of find yourself withering away. You don't even know your own identity. So there's nothing wrong with being guarded after you've been in the victim of narcissism and narcissistic abuse. But we've also discussed like the red flags. So in previous podcasts, but we need to discuss trusting yourself, right? So Karen, how can you trust yourself to make wise choices? And I wanted to find out, just give us some points of what you think that we need to remember, and especially coming from a Christian perspective as well, as we're going back into the dating world.
Right, right. Well, you have to be willing to ask yourself some of the hard questions because let's just say you meet somebody and, they're attractive outwardly, they maybe have a great job and they're charismatic. They're very
Right.
charismatic people. And so now you're attracted to that. And so that in itself is going to kind of blind you because
Mm.
already kind of feel like, ooh, I think I might have met my perfect match. This
Hit the jackpot, right?
this girl is just fantastic. She's
Right.
checking off all the boxes for me.
Ah,
Once you start telling yourself stuff like that, then you might not be like interviewing them. I think about people that go to a job, they're like, oh, I hope this company really likes me. I really want this job. And people will go in and interview for a job and they don't really have any questions that they're going to ask this company. They've already made up their mind they want this company. And then
right.
the person behind the desk has a slew of questions for them and they're
Right.
all nervous and they're all thinking that it's all about how I answer this if I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
get this job. And then they wind up working the job and realizing it's not all that it was cut out to be because they didn't ask the
Right.
questions that they needed to ask. So now in the case of dating someone, it's similar because you've got, this person, sometimes people don't want to be alone. And because they don't
Mm.
want to be alone, they go and they see somebody that they think they're attracted to, and now it's like, oh wow, I think they like me, that kind of thing. They get all
Right.
excited about it, and then the person maybe does ask them on a date, and then it's like, it's almost like at that point they're going to do whatever that person wants them to do and
Wow.
go wherever that person wants them to go because they think it's all about that person deciding on them. And it's
Wow.
not where they're saying, wait, I'm worthy of making a big decision for my life. Yeah, they have a life that they need to make big decisions for, but I
Mm-hmm.
have a life too, and I need to make a decision. And if this person doesn't meet the mark, I don't care what they look like, I don't care what job they have.
Right.
They're
Right.
gonna meet the mark because if they don't, I'm moving on. There's other people out there. I might have a year by myself or 2 years by myself while I'm in the process of finding somebody, or it might be more years than that.
Right. Yeah.
And but stay true to yourself. I think about this one young lady, she was a Christian, and she said to me, I'm very, very strict about what I will allow in my life, and I am not going to be with a person until after I'm married in any sexual way. And
Right.
so she committed to that. So because she committed to that, she didn't have repeat dates. She, until she was
Wow.
30, she did not have repeat dates. She was 30 years old, and finally somebody had the same conviction she did. And when
Amazing.
they found each other, it was beautiful because these two
Wow.
people waited on God to find the person for them. And it's, it sounds impossible, but it's not. There are people out there that have, very strong convictions about that. And
Mm-hmm.
and it was a beautiful thing. And they didn't even date that long, but they had, and I would do premarital counseling for people that were going to get married, and I gave them an assessment. And they actually scored the highest on the assessment, and they were married in 5 months.
Wow. Isn't that something? So people, it's weird because some people feel like they have to get physical, or they're so afraid of being lonely that they will give in to being physical in a relationship because they want to keep the person. But from what you're saying is if you just allow God the time, he can match you with the right person in
Right,
his time, and you may not even be dating that long, because that's what it sounds like. The couple wasn't even dating that long. They scored high on the premarital counseling assessment, and they were happy, and they had that satisfaction of knowing that we saved ourselves until we got married and we did it God's way. And
right,
it will have a lasting effect, throughout their marriage and their relationship, because they had a solid foundation and not a foundation built on lust. And I mean,
right.
I hate to say it like that, but I mean, I just have to keep it real with the viewers, right? I
You
mean,
do.
put what you think is better, like dating and having sex. Do you think it's possible or not? Yeah, just put yes, I think it's possible to date and not have sex in a relationship, or I don't think it's possible. I do that every time because that's just what you do. You know what I mean?
So where is the best place for our audience that hears this to actually write into us? Because I know we're on Spotify, we're on YouTube, Apple Podcasts.
Mhm.
So where would you say would be the best place for them to write their questions in?
I would definitely say the YouTube, because the comments, you can put comments in there and
Okay.
chime in on YouTube, and then on Instagram as well. So Karen, give us our Instagram where they can follow, like.
Yeah. Okay, no question mark. Narcissist asking for friend pod.
Excellent, excellent. And that's where you go and chime in. And we have some more great stuff. So we want you to stay tuned. So there's some other things that I was thinking about. So
Mhm.
how about, okay, so we do know that every person is not a narcissist, right?
Right.
But because you attracted one or more already in the past, you
Yeah.
may very well be narcissist bait. And so, Karen,
Yeah.
go into what being narcissist bait is, and maybe
Yes.
we've been guilty of being narcissist bait and didn't know it.
Right, right. So basically, narcissist bait is really a person that is very compliant, very
Mm,
agreeable,
okay.
just willing to, jump out of their way to do what the other person wants. And I'm not just talking about a romantic relationship, but they're the kind of person that doesn't want to have an opinion about
Mm.
anything. There might even be that person that apologizes all the time. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. There was,
Oh my
your
goodness.
way, and right. And so narcissists, when they see that, it's like, whoa, this is the person, especially if in their eyes, you're attractive to them, you've got something, it's all about building an image for them. So, okay, she's
Right.
gonna fit good in my image here. Okay, this might work out well. Or he is gonna fit well into my image. And he's
Ah.
got some money, he's got some looks, he's got a good job. Okay, So what would be a red flag? A person that maybe has been with a narcissist, now they're out of that relationship, and now
Yes.
they're trying to, start dating and see if they can find that right person that will
Yes.
love them. And so, you have to be willing to stay true to yourself.
Love
Being
that.
being disappointed that, oh, it's not this person. Okay. So,
Yeah.
and here's an example. So a young lady recently said to me that she's not a client, so I don't feel like I'm divulging anything of a client of mine, but I met her at a restaurant. She happened to be our server. And
Yeah.
she got into conversing with me and my husband. And so anyway, she, you know, was asking what we do for a living. She was very, very,
Nice.
very outgoing and talkative. And so she said, "Oh, I should talk to you." And so then I,
Right.
and then she said to me, "Well, here's a situation that happened the other day. A guy was, interested in asking me out, so he did, and he gave
Mhm.
me a date Friday, and he told me what time, because I said, what time would you want to pick me up? And he said, what time? And I said, okay, so we switched phone numbers, and
Yes.
off we went. And so
Hmm.
then a half an hour before he was supposed to come pick me up, I realized I never gave him my address. And he never texted for it. So I better send that to him. So then she just got on the phone and just to confirm everything. And so she called him and he answers and she said, "Oh, hi." She goes, "I just wanted to, give you my address because I never gave it to you." And he says, "Oh, hey, how about you meet me at such and such a place? It's a restaurant with a bar in it." So she kind of felt a little not so good about that, but she was like, okay.
Right.
She was already dressed and ready to go. So she was
Right.
like, okay. So she gets in her car and she meets him there. And when she walks in there, he is at the bar with his friend, his guy friend. And
Oh,
so it kind of felt icky to her. And I said, okay, yeah,
yes.
that makes sense. And so I said, so you kind of look at that as a kind of a red flag for you, huh? And
Mhm.
so she said, yeah. She goes, so I said, well, that's good that you're able to see that, and be true to yourself. So if you listeners are in that kind of a situation where, now things are getting changed up, this person's unpredictable,
Right.
um, he really wasn't putting his best foot forward, or it doesn't put her best foot forward right from the
Right.
get-go.
Hmm.
You might want to say, they're not thinking about me and they're not that excited about this first date, which, if this person is really looking for a long-term relationship, they're gonna
Right.
put their best foot forward. And so,
Of course. Of
yeah,
course. And I would definitely say the fact that he didn't pick her up, he didn't keep his word. So I mean, he's already showing you signs that he's a person that doesn't keep his word. So it's like it's just little things right there in the beginning. And he didn't keep his word on calling her and touching base with her. And
right,
just kind of inviting her to a guy's night and hey, you can tag along. You're kind of like the afterthought now. Oh, yeah, that person I was supposed to meet with. Yeah, come on out.
yeah,
So yeah, I mean, so it sounds like to me as a person, like you just can't be that, jump in, and then you're like, how high, and you just do it. You have to kind of have that self-respect. You just kind of have to
yes,
have,
absolutely. It's so
yeah.
because you can go out of your way for someone like that. And at the
Mhm.
very beginning, if they are a narcissist, they're like, oh, okay, yep, she's the one because
He's the one. Yeah.
she's gonna do what I say and she's gonna show up when I say, and she's not, you know, she doesn't have enough self-respect to make me
Right.
have to go through any hoops for her. This is gonna be
Right.
good for me. So they're
Yeah. And
looking for an easy way out.
yeah. And he could have been, that could have been a test too. Cause like I'm thinking about it now and I'm like, what if that was a test? Like he just purposely didn't call her just to see, I want to see if she calls me. And he just kind of just set it up just to have her almost like, like now she's pursuing him and she's chasing him and like, yeah, look, I got this girl calling me. Now she's just gonna come out and meet me. It's almost like he's kind of reversing he was pursuing her. Now he's trying to turn it around to make her look like she's the desperate one needing him and wanting him so bad.
Exactly, exactly.
So
So
wow,
yeah,
that is something.
so I think
And
that if you put it in a nutshell, it's basically don't go along with creating these new relationships with people that make you feel like they weren't really thinking about you.
yes, yes.
Because when you're with a narcissist or with a selfish person, it might not be a narcissist, but even just a
Right.
selfish person,
Hmm.
your life will become a life of anxiety. A person that's
Oh,
married to a narcissist is full of
right.
anxiety because the narcissist creates that for them, that anxious trauma.
Hmm. Yes.
So you want to make sure that the person, I mean, there's some people that are a little bit unpredictable, but that doesn't mean
Right.
that they're narcissists. They might just not be good communicators and forget
Right.
to tell you what they're doing. But if it's somebody that plays a game when it comes to being unpredictable,
Right.
try to get used to, who's playing a game, there's head games that go on.
Yes.
You are going to always be wondering what's next and can I really trust this person? You can't
Yeah.
trust them in little things. I can't trust this guy to come pick me up for a first date. You're
Right.
probably not gonna be able to trust him in big things either.
With anything, yeah. And it was almost like a mind game, I think, that he was playing with her because he didn't even say, "Oh, I'm so sorry." There was no apology. It was
Mhm.
just like, "Oh, yeah, can you just come meet me?" So it was almost like, yeah, this is how this is going to go. There was no
Right,
apology. There was no, "Oh my gosh, let me do this." And you're right, I should have called you. There was no accountability, nothing. So it was almost like, this is what it's going to be. And you just need to follow along with it, you
right,
know? So,
right.
wow,
I was thinking too, Tyler, our listeners might actually have situations like that that they
yes.
want to message to us as well. And
Yes.
if you want us to use your example on the air too, on the podcast, we'd be happy to talk about it. What do you think, Tyler? What do you think, Karen? And talk about
Yes.
it if you want to hear what we say about it, but then also other listeners might want to chime in and have something else to say to other listeners.
Oh, yes. We're all about helping each other because we want to help you grow. We want to help you get emotionally healthy, find better and relationships, and then kind of and heal from that narcissism. You know what I mean? So you don't keep attracting. It's not like a revolving door. You keep having narcissist after narcissist relationship or toxic relationships. So I will look at something else now. Um, so you said that they'll know that those are some things that they need to look out for. So that was a great example. Now, and now as we're closing, we'll just kind of go into this last thing as far as do you find that in these relationships that narcissists, if they have a way of kind of guilt tripping you? And the reason why I say that is because I've had a situation with a narcissist where it's like you're getting into an argument with them about something that was wrong. And you're like, I'm not going to go along with that. Like maybe you're at a restaurant or a drive through and the person's yelling at the waiter or the drive through person.
Yeah,
And you're not feeling that. And you're like expressing, like, well, that wasn't right. You didn't have to do that. And then they're like, well, you never support me and you need to be on my side. And, or they do something to harm you and they expect you to forgive them over and over again
right,
for hurting you. You know what I mean? And they almost guilt trip you into believing that there's something wrong with you or you're not a real Christian, right? If you don't just keep forgiving all of the things they do, the lies, the infidelity, or the
right.
bad treatment for whatever reason. So what do you have to say to speak to that to kind of close things up so we can help our viewers?
Sure. And of course, as Christians, we do want to forgive. You don't want to carry the weight of, um, you know, burden of remembering somebody else's sin. And
Yes.
also, think about scripturally, the Lord tells us that how we forgive is how we will be forgiven.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Yes.
and I look at the way that we forgive also as kind of releasing that person from the burden of
Mm-hmm.
sin. Because the Lord says, if we forgive them, so will the Lord. So
Yes.
we want to forgive others. Does that mean you forgive and act like nothing ever happened? No, no, because sometimes something is so grievous
Yes.
that you need to have boundaries.
Yes.
And so, yeah, I mean, a lot of you may even be divorced right now from the person that was the narcissist
Mm-hmm.
that abused you.
Yes.
You do need to forgive that person, but you do not have to have a relationship with them. Um,
Absolutely. Amen to that.
yeah, and so, forgiving somebody and having them in your life still, that is a choice that you would have to make, but you also want to carefully make that choice because they may not be safe still. So just because you forgave
Right.
the previous thing doesn't mean another thing's not going to happen. And so you do need to, have some level of protection for yourself, that self-esteem that you need to have. Being with a narcissist can really beat down your self-esteem. You may not have,
Yes.
you might not have any. So you have to build that back up, and that's going to be making some conscious choices to take care of yourself. And, even if it means, that person has to be removed from your life.
Yes.
Just by choice, I'm just not gonna have a relationship with that person anymore. I am gonna tell them I forgive them,
Mm-hmm.
but I am not going to continue in this anymore.
That's great. And that's assuming that the narcissist, because they're probably like, forgive what? So
Right,
you know.
right, and that could, but still, we are still responsible to forgive,
Mhm.
even
Yes.
when the person is not sorry. And that's a
Right.
tough one.
Yes,
That's a
it
tough.
is. It
But if you
is.
think about it, like I always think about the about Stephen, in
Yes.
was it Acts, I believe it's Acts 9. Stephen is being stoned, right? And
Mm-hmm.
Saul, who becomes Paul later,
Right.
standing there giving the approval of thumbs up to those that
Yes.
are stoning him, and they all lay their clothes at his feet so that they can do this thing that they're about to do to Stephen. And so
Right.
as they're stoning Stephen, Stephen looks up and he can see Jesus standing at the right hand of the Father, and he
Mm-hmm.
says, "Do not hold this on their account." Now, the worst thing that a human being could do with another human being is to kill them.
Right. It is.
And that was what was happening to him. And he was choosing to forgive. And so that is a beautiful picture, though, for us to follow, because those people were not apologetic and they
No,
continued
not at
until
all.
the job was done,
Right.
right? And so without the apology, Stephen still chose to forgive. And I think about when we do that kind of forgiving, I think we unlock something in the spiritual realm that we cannot
Yes.
see with our eyes. Because when you think about it, what happened there was Saul became the person that wrote most of the books of the New Testament,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
The majority. And he was chosen by God to become this man that
Mm-hmm.
trained up as a Pharisee and then
Right.
became the Christian spokesperson to the Gentiles. So, we have to remember that in the spiritual realm, things are happening when we do something that's a choice, that's a selfless, loving, forgiving choice. Something else is going to happen. I believe there's a blessing. That's
Yeah.
a huge blessing, because that what happened there blessed all of humanity after
All
Paul,
of humanity.
right? After
Yes.
Stephen's life, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
if we read and take advantage of that benefit and read the Bible and read the New Testament, we get to hear a lot of the words that the Holy Spirit
Ooh.
inspired Paul with, and
Yes.
we've grown, we can grow exponentially because of the work that was done on that day. So, think about that when you are feeling like you're having a hard time forgiving somebody
Yes.
that has hurt you, whether it's your spouse, your ex that was a narcissist, or anyone.
Mm-hmm. Anyone.
That in the spirit realm, you forgiving is actually doing something. It's unlocking something. We can't see it with our eyes, but it's unlocking something.
Yes, you just gave God a lot to work with, and it's going to be blessed, whatever it is that He has for your future. Well, Karen, this was such an amazing way to wrap it up. Thank you for to wrapping it up in this way. It was just such a blessing to all of us. I'm sure we all learned something, right? So go ahead and chime in and say, hey, I learned something. Put me in the comments. And always just remember to like, share, subscribe. Doesn't cost you anything to do that. And remember, we want to help people. We want to grow. We want to make sure people are healed from the narcissistic relationships, and also get the Christian perspective in how to live their life moving forward. So I'm Tyler King. This is Karen Maldonado, and this is the Narcissist I'm Asking for a Friend podcast. See, it's on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. All right, we'll see you on the next episode for part 2. Bye.